Oh, goodness. All right, guys, I guess we're ready for our Saturday episode of Unscripted. A little late tonight. We're usually here at noon Eastern time on Saturdays and at 9 on Tuesdays and Thursdays Eastern time. We're here on Facebook, YouTube, and we're also on iHeartRadio and iTunes. If you're on Facebook, make sure you like and share and comment. We always love the interaction from our viewers. And we've got the contest going on right now that if you are the one who likes, shares, and comments the most during the month of March, you're going to win a really cool jersey that will get you out to you the first week of April. And we'll make that announcement the first week of April. I think that's the only announcements that we have for tonight. I'm your moderator, Melanie, and tonight we have Jay McLovin.
Hey, what's up, H-Town? Let's get this bad boy cracking.
And we also have Robert Strite, or Big Shot Rob. How are you doing tonight, Rob?
Doing good. Thanks you guys for having me tonight. Shout out to everybody out there. As you see, I got my New York Yankees hat on, getting ready for baseball season coming up in April. I'm watching the Brooklyn Nets game right now against the Detroit Pistons. Good game going on. Getting ready to start the second half of the NBA season. A lot going on. NFL, NBA. Let's get the show going.
All right, we already got Landon Hammonds coming in. Thanks for joining in with us. And we got a few little topics. We're waiting on Big Shaw to hop in. Let's see, LaMarcus Aldridge. What do you guys think about what's going on with him right now?
Well, I heard the San Antonio Spurs parted ways with him. He was scheduled to play in the game against the Dallas Mavericks. I actually had him in a couple of DraftKings and FanDuel lineups that night, but then found out, I Googled, found out that he wasn't going to be playing, and they had parted ways, so I took him out of all my lineups, and turns out that they parted ways, and, you know, it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. You know, like I was hearing the Miami Heat are a possible destination. If I was the Heat, I would definitely take a shot on this guy. He's great in the post. He can shoot the three. He can rebound. He's older. You know, LaMarcus Aldridge is 35 years old. He's been in the league for, you know, about 13 years. I think it's like 14th season. So if I were the Heat wouldn't have to give up too much to get him because being that he's older, he's 35. So I would definitely take a shot on him. But, I mean, there's other teams out there that won't, you know, like the Lakers or possibly the LA Clippers. I don't think he's going to go to the Brooklyn Nets the way they're stacked up. So, you know, I could see the Heat getting them, the Lakers, Clippers. I mean, it's really anybody's guess, but he'll definitely get traded sometime before the deadline. Yeah. What do you think, McLovin?
Yeah, you know, first, viewer count is up. First of all, I want to say shout out to Landon Hammonds. He's a guy that I normally share my podcast in his group, Fuel to Fire. And it's a very good group. Anybody want to check it out and see some good content, Fuel to Fire podcasting group has a lot of good stuff there. And I appreciate him letting me share my podcast in that platform. With that being said, I'm going to go on to some other stuff. Yeah, LaMarcus Aldridge. You know, I remember with him with Portland Trailblazers and Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum. Those guys were just phenomenal. That was a 1-2-3 punch that you just couldn't deal with. And they really went far. They never quite got over that peak of the mountaintop, but they really, really, really went far and put Portland on the map in a lot of different ways. And then, of course, LaMarcus Aldridge then left, went to San Antonio, which I'm a Houston Rockets fan. San Antonio is kind of our arch rival in the state. It's an interstate rivalry thing. And I wasn't happy to see him go there, but he went there. And he started out okay. He never – but LaMarcus Aldridge, when he went to San Antonio, he became a different type of player. He just was never the same as what he was with Portland. And I don't know if he just couldn't get in the rhythm of playing with, you know, with the guys and stuff, or if it was just, you know, he got the big contract or whatever the case was. He just never seemed comfortable in a San Antonio Spurs uniform. And, you know, he put up, you know, abysmal numbers, around 12, 13 points, you know, maybe 5 or 6 rebounds. Nothing just like what he was doing with Portland. And, you know, so now he's gotten onto the free agent market. I think probably somebody like either maybe the Lakers will pick him up, or, Some maybe even, I don't know if the Nets will pick him up because they just got on Blake Griffin, which we'll talk in a minute. But I see that maybe LaMarcus Aldridge might find his way over to LA because LA missed out on Blake. So I think they're looking for somebody to fill in on the big end since they lost McGee and Howard. So looking for somebody who can fill some big-time minutes, especially since Anthony Davis is down and probably going to be for a few more weeks. I think Anthony Davis should be down much longer. But they're probably going to rush him back to try to salvage whatever record they can get better than what they should get, which I think is a mistake on that part. But they're probably going to rush him back, but they're going to need help to help him out. So I think Aldridge probably is going to fit in there. But Aldridge just is not the same guy. He doesn't deserve the same contract as, what he was getting with Portland or when he first got. He's just not that same guy anymore. And I think Blake Griffin is the same way. We'll talk more about that. But, yeah, LaMarcus Aldridge, hey, I love you, guy, and I really respect your game in Portland. Not so much in San Antonio. I'll hit it up because I know you went last time. Tom Brady signed, $14 million 1 year. How long is Tom Brady going to go? Damn, he might go till he's 50. I don't think he'll make it to 50, but damn, he might be the first quarterback to get close to 50 and still be playing at a high productive level. I don't know. Is Tom Brady on steroids? Is he on some kind of superhuman growth hormone that just helps him recover faster than everybody else in the world? He's got to be on something because I just saw him get off the boat there in the parade, and they could barely hold that man up. So I know he's abused his body a little bit. He may still have the hangover going in the next season. Who knows? But, yeah, he just signed $14 million. I think it's worth the $14 million. I think Brady's got at least 2 or 3 more go-arounds at the championship. He may get 1 or 2 more rings. I think at this point, like I was talking with you earlier in pregame, Robert, I think he's doing this now more for the legacy than he is trying to get the paycheck, which, he's already got plenty of money. He had that $2 million yacht that he was just chilling out on. So, the man's got money. So I think at this point, he's just doing it more for the legacy. And I'll tell you right now, Tom Brady's legacy is just freaking amazing. It's amazing. I don't think anybody's ever going to hit 7 Super Bowls in a single season as a quarterback. I don't think that's ever going to – if it gets touched, that's a once-in-a-generational guy. And I think we've already seen that in Tom Brady. But if he gets 1 or 2 more championships, that's just gaudy, and insane. Tom Brady, you are the GOAT. Nobody can touch you. Hands down, you're the GOAT.
Definitely, I agree. Brady, he's just playing pretty much for his legacy. His wife wants him to retire, Gisele Bündchen. She has all the money. She's a supermodel. He doesn't really need the money. He signs a 1-year deal. It gives the Bucks $19 million in cap space to be able to resign free agents like Antonio Brown, Shaq Barrett, Leonard Fournette, Gronk. So it's going to be interesting to see which free agents they're able to re-sign. I don't know if they could keep all those guys, but Brady's just the ultimate team player. It just shows you how bad he wants to win and try to build that dynasty in Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay is going to be a hell of a team next year. And you look at that offense, you're one of that offense. It took him a while to get comfortable in that offense. Going into year 2, now that he's more comfortable with all those weapons, with Mike Evans, and they just franchise tag Chris Godwin, Donald Jones back. I don't know about Leonard Fournette because Leonard Fournette's a free agent, so it's possible he might go. But they're bring definitely help, and then with all the guys on defense as well. But I look for Brady next year to be much more comfortable in year 2 of that offense because usually when a quarterback goes to a new team in the first year of that offense, he's not that. But then in the second year, it definitely looked more comfortable. So I expect Brady to look much more comfortable with the offense. So definitely put up more stats. Are they going to have that stout defense like they had last year? That remains to be seen if they're going to be able to keep all those guys. But Tampa Bay is going to be a force to be reckoned with. It should be the favorite in the NFC South to win that division. Definitely one of the favorites in the NFC to go back to the Super Bowl. And just wants to keep building his legacy. He's working on number 8 now. And then he'll be going for 9 and 10. This guy, I don't know how he does it. He wants to play till 45. It's just amazing to see. This guy is just he's just the fountain of youth. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. No, real quick before we go on to the next topic, I just want to. I meant to say this earlier or put this in the pregame show, and I know I kind of didn't really coordinate it well enough. But I want to give a shout out to the Marvin Hagler family. We just lost him today, unfortunately, to a mysterious illness. We don't know what it was that actually took him out of the game, but we lost him today. Anybody knows Marvelous Marvin Hagler? He was probably one of the best fighters, pound for pound, to play in the early 80s and some of the late 70s, early 80s. And he went out. He had his career reign of 7 years. He had a 7-year reign as middleweight champion of the world. 7 years reign of middleweight. That's amazing. And he lost it to Sugar Ray Leonard, 1987, in a split decision. And I tell you right now, Sugar Ray, Marvin Hagler, even though he lost the crown, he didn't give up that crown. That Sugar Ray had to earn that crown and take it from him. And he did that, unfortunately, but he did not take it via knockout. It was a split decision. So Marvin Hagler, he fought his whole life all the way to the very end at a very high level. And Marvin Hagler, rest in peace. And I send prayers to you and your family.
Likewise, rest in peace to the great marvelous Hagler. It's always sad when you have legends like that in boxing die. You know, I didn't really get to watch him too much. I'm not much of a big boxing guy, but, you know, I heard great things about him, that he was great, him and Sugar Ray Leonard, all those guys. Yeah, they're definitely sad to see, and my prayers go out to his family and his friends as well.
All right, Mel.
All right. Oh, let's see. Here we go. Joshua Bailey says, Marvelous Marvin.
Yeah, like I said, just a great boxer, and it's sad that we don't have him around anymore. But great boxer and person.
All right, guys, let's talk about Dak Prescott.
Woo! I'm gonna take Dak. That's my team, Rob. If you don't mind, I'm gonna let you recap.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Prescott signed. It was 4 years. I believe 160 million at 4 years, which puts his average year contract around 40 to 41 million. I think he's more around the 37 to 36, 37 million. So I think he's being paid $3 million more a year than what he's actually worth. I think he's trying to get too close to Patrick Mahomes' money. And he's not Patrick freaking Mahomes. He's Dak Prescott, which is a decent quarterback, I'm going to say decent. He's a good quarterback. Elite, I don't believe he's elite. I think he has a long way to go to prove himself as elite. But he's a good quarterback, and good quarterbacks shouldn't be paid $41 million freaking dollars a year. Good quarterbacks should be paid around the 35, 36, 30, even 37 million. But to pay him $41 million just for being a good quarterback, and you don't even know what that knee looks like coming off of all this craziness, he could be hurt far more beyond than what we think. So we don't know how healthy he's coming back. We don't know what his production level is going to be coming back. We don't know anything. We're in the dark, waiting to see, because he took a pretty bad leg injury. And so we're basically gambling that he's going to be okay. And I don't like to gamble with money. I think Jerry Jones gambles a lot more than what he should. And right now, Jerry, I'm questioning your decision-making, because you got Deshaun Watson out there that you could have traded for. You got Russell Wilson out there that you could have traded for and probably not given up any draft picks. And I probably could have kept that money at about $37 million to make it more cap-friendly. But we'll see if what you give Dak is going to pan out. But I am a little cautious, and I am a little worried that this was the wrong decision. Robert, what you got?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was when Dak went down that the Dallas Cowboys offense definitely missed him. That offense just didn't look the same without him. He's coming off a really bad injury. The Cowboys pretty much had to pay him. Otherwise, it was the franchise tag or, you know, lose them for nothing. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, we don't know what we're going to see with coming off a bad injury. Hopefully he's able to rehab and get back in tip-top. But, you know, like he has to stay healthy. That's the main thing. You know, like it's like if Dak gets hurt again and he has a serious injury, this could be the end of his career. And then all that money that Jerry Jones spent to pay him is going to be pretty much down the tube. And I got a chance to watch the press conference, and Jerry Jones and Dak were talking, and, you know, Jerry Jones was saying the best thing I did was, you know, overpay. And sometimes in life you have to overpay for things. So, you know, I just hope it pays off for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. You know, they pay this guy a lot of money, 4 years, $160 million. I don't really have the terms of the contract in front of me, but it was pretty detailed. I think he's getting like a huge signing bonus, which is like the largest in history. But, you know, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, you pretty much got the same team coming back next year on offense. Like, you really need to rebuild that defense. That Dallas Cowboys defense last year was horrible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can't have Dak Prescott in all these shootouts. I know quarterback, but you need a defense that can give him opportunity to be able to play with the lead. But you shouldn't have to have Dak putting up all these gaudy passing numbers. You know, like Another guy that really needs to step up next year, and it's a make or break year for him, is Zeke Elliott. I think Zeke Elliott has to have a great year for the Dallas Cowboys. If he doesn't have a great year, that could be the end of Zeke.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
absolutely.
I would have liked to see the Dallas Cowboys spend their money more on the defensive side of the ball to definitely improve that defense. Because when I go back in history and look at all the great Dallas Cowboys, especially in the 90s, one thing they all had great defenses. Now, they were great on offense with the triplets, with Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith, but they had great defenses. And the way NFL, I'm not saying you have to have a defense like the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens, but you have to have a good defense that's able to make plays situationally. And if the Cowboys don't step up their defense, they're going to be in shootouts just like they were last year and having to play catch up, having to put in too much pressure on Dak to throw for 400 yards a game and 3 touchdowns. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but I'm just saying it's a lot of pressure on this guy. He just got the big contract. He's got to live up to the contract, and to have him in all those type of games, it's a lot of pressure on this guy. Being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback is already enough pressure, being that it's America's team and the Cowboys are the most popular team in America, and they're worth the most money. How many $1 billion are they worth or whatever? So, I mean, it's a lot of pressure on Dak, and I just hope he can live up to the hype and perform. But the Cowboys definitely need to rebuild that defense for sure.
Yeah, and real quick, and accident waiting to happen in Dallas. Joshua Bailey is right about a lot of things, and the next one, there you go. That's the comment. If they're paying all that money, he better put up some points, and that's exactly right. Here's the deal. I agree with you. Their defense is horrible right now. It's not anywhere near where it needs to be. They got issues in that secondary. They got issues on the edge rushing, and they didn't address any of those. And I just think personally, if I'm paying somebody $40 to $41 million, I would much rather trade for Watson and pay Watson that money, who I feel is more worth it than Dak Prescott is. I would feel more comfortable with that because he's also got a lot more years of youth and prime on him. So if I'm going to pay that kind of money, I want somebody like Deshaun Watson who can run, who can throw, who can do all the intangibles, has a lot of time left on his lifespan in terms of the game of football. If I'm giving that kind of money, that's the guy I want to give the money to. I don't think that Dak Prescott is the right man to give that money to. And like you said, I think it's going to reveal itself in time because we're missing out on where we need to be putting that money, which is in the defense. So if they would have traded for, let's say, Russell Wilson, probably could have got him in the $37 million and had a little bit more money towards the cap to bring in a free agent or two, to complement, the draft picks that they have coming. So, yeah, I'm not happy about this at all, Robert, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Deshaun Watson is 2 years younger than Dak. He doesn't have the injury, like Dak does. And yeah, we're gonna see what happens and if he's gonna get traded out of the AFC, possibly the NFC's team. I know with Russell Wilson, the Bears are definitely trying to go hard to get Russell Wilson. Another team that was mentioned was the Miami Dolphins. They just got thrown into the mix too, but. I think if the Seahawks were to trade Russell Wilson, I think they would end up trading him or try to trade him out of the conference. I don't think they want him to stay in the NFC. They want to try to trade him out of the conference if all possible, maybe to possibly the Las Vegas Raiders or I really don't know what they're going to do. It's interesting with these two quarterbacks, Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson, where both of them might end up next year. It's definitely interesting. I know for a fact Deshaun is not going to stay in Houston for sure. He doesn't want to. He's had it with that organization. He's just sick of being there. He doesn't have weapons. I mean, they just signed the running back Mark Ingram. You got rid of DeAndre Hopkins a couple years ago. They got rid of J.J. Watt. Like he definitely doesn't want to be there. So he's definitely going to hold out until they trade him. And then Russell Wilson, he's just pretty much unhappy with that offensive line and the coaching style of Pete Carroll. I was saying the Seahawks.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to say real quick, Robert. And I want to comment on what Suttereth is saying. Ben Suttereth is saying basically Cowboys have to build the O-line. We already know about the defense, but what strikes me about that comment is he's talking about building that O-line. And that is what is another issue with those guys because they had Fredericks, which was retired on them, and said, hey, I'm done. So you lost your center, your big-time Pro Bowl center. And then you got Tyron Smith, who went down for injury. And we don't know when we're going to get a healthy Tyron Smith back because this guy's in and out of the lineup, every other week. So you don't have a consistent Tyron Smith. You don't have a consistent Fredericks. The only one you really got consistent right now that's from that old school Pro Bowl lineup is Zach Martin. And I don't know how much longer Zach Martin's going to be before he starts missing games. So this O-line is basically now starting to look like a bunch of rookies and Steele and so forth. And, you know, if you don't have a good offensive line, how is Zeke going to be able to get those big-time runs? How is Dak going to be able to stay upright? And I think that offensive line, along with the defense, you know, is big-time keys that these Cowboys are going to have to address. How are they going to address it? They're either going to go A with the draft, but they only got so many picks in the draft, and most of the draft is going to defense. So you got offense. What are you going to do with your offense? You're probably going to have to bring in the offense in the latest rounds of the draft. So that means you probably will get a future project. You're not going to get a real guy that's going to start for you. So you're going to have to look to free agency. How many free agent offensive tackles do you think that are really out there? They're going to be worth a damn, that are going to come in and be able to put together an offensive line cohesive enough to protect Dak, one, and number two, provide a running lane for Zeke. So that's a lot of the Cowboys got more holes than Swiss cheese on that team. Yep. They really do. They got a lot of freaking holes, man, and I would not want to be on that raft with that many holes because you know what you're doing. You're going to the bottom.
Yeah. Well, two offensive linemen or offensive tackles they could go after are the two guys the Chiefs just released. I believe they released Eric Fisher and, you know, who was the other guy they released. But those are guys they could go after. I mean, I know Eric Fisher has a history injury, but those are guys they could definitely go after. One thing that helps the Cowboys out is the division they play in. I mean, the NFC least, as Skip Bayless likes to call it.
NFC least.
NFC least, that's what Skip Bayless likes to call it.
Yeah.
That division isn't too good. I mean, you got the Eagles coming back next year with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback. They don't have many weapons at wide receiver. They cut Alshon Jeffrey. They cut Deshaun Jackson. Carson Wentz got traded. We don't know what they're going to be. You got the Giants. The Giants could be good next year. Everything depends on Saquon Barkley coming off that injury and how Danny Dimes is going to look. So the Giants are another team, big question mark. Now Washington's another team. They have a good defense with Chase Young. They got rid of Alex Smith. Alex Smith got released. I guess they're going to go with that quarterback that played in the playoff game against the Bucs last year, Heineken. So we're going to see how he does next year. So Dallas should be favored in this division next year as long as, you know, they stay healthy. But if they want to compete with the big NFC, like, you know, the Packers, the Seahawks, the Bucs, you know, like they're gonna have to, you know, get an offer Dak and build that defense if they want to get to the Super Bowl. Because I'm hearing all this talk now, you know, about the Cowboys now that they gave Dak this big contract, like it's Super Bowl or bust. And it's like, yeah, like you signed Dak to this long-term deal, but it's like, what are you putting around this guy? Like you need a defense, you know, like you got all the weapons on offense, but you still need a defense to win in this league. So it's like you got to get this guy a defense, you know, and get him some good offensive linemen. Now the Chiefs just cut their two guys, so maybe we can go after those guys or see who's available in the draft. I mean, we'll see what happens.
You know, and the thing about it is, Robert, what makes me interested is we were talking about the Redskins and talking about the division as a whole. And I'm going to tell you right now, out of every team that's in the NFC East, the Washington Redskins, I can't even say that name anymore. I still got it on the tip of my tongue. The Washington football team. I apologize. I didn't mean to offend anybody. It's still fresh on my tongue. I've got to get used to this process of saying football team. So Washington football team. I'm going to tell you right now, they really look like the legitimate team coming out of the East. That Heineke guy, he's amazing. And let me be honest with you, they actually, I think the Washington Redskins played the Buccaneers and Tom Brady much harder and much better than what the Chiefs did. I thought that game was more combative on all aspects, more competitive on all aspects than it was with the Chiefs game. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that Heineke, I'm expecting big things coming to him next year. And I would not be surprised if the Washington Redskins really drastically improve and take the NFC least. I think they take the first round, and I think they go back into the playoffs. I think they continue to crush it. But watch out for these Redskins because you know what? For as bad as what their regular season was, they came in and they brought it in the playoffs, and they did quite well.
Yeah, they walked. Go ahead.
I was going to say with that, why don't you talk about the Chiefs OT release?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that. Robert, you want to lead us off on that?
Yeah, the Chiefs released their two offensive tackles. One of them was Fisher. I'm not sure who the other guy is. You might want to look that up. But yeah, I mean, you released your two offensive tackles after making it to the Super Bowl the year before. I'm just wondering who the Chiefs are going to replace those two guys with, because Patrick Mahomes has been pretty good these last couple of years, getting the 2 Super Bowls in a row. You don't want this guy running for his life. He's the top paid quarterback in the NFL. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean,
right.
I hope they can replace those guys and get back to the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl. Because pretty much with this Chiefs team, it's pretty much Super Bowl or bust. But going back to that Super Bowl last year, against the Bucs, or I should say this year, they didn't have Eric Fisher in that game, so that definitely hurt them. But moving forward, it's going to be interesting because you definitely need a good offensive line to win in this league. It'll be interesting to see who they replace those guys with. Did they try to go after any free agents out there, or like draft somebody, or what?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? You look at the Super Bowl and you watched what Patrick Mahomes was having to do in the Super Bowl with that offensive line that he had. And there were several times where he was pressured quite often by the Buccaneers. And there was a couple of throws that he made that he was off balance in the air, throwing sidearm and just trying to get whatever he could. And it just didn't look pretty. It didn't look good. It didn't look vintage Patrick Mahomes. It looked like a guy running for his life in a lot of situations. And I don't know if that's credited to how good the Tampa Bay defense was, or if it's just a lack of greatness on behalf of the offensive line of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to put the latter. I think it's lack of offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. And not taking away from Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay did great, but they don't have a great defense. They had a good defense, but I think it's the offensive line that just kind of broke down for Kansas City and allowing Patrick Mahomes to go through what he went through, which was craziness. So, yeah, the fact that they let go of all 2 offensive linemen, who are they going to bring in? I guess they're going to be drafting offensive linemen in the draft. That's probably where their focus should be, is drafting offensive linemen. Or maybe they're trying to bring in a free agent offensive lineman. But I tell you right now, free agent offensive linemen are going to be in high demand, I think, this year in football when free agency is gone. And I think whoever is available, whether it be Sewell or Frazier or any other big name free agent that's in the – or not free agent, that draft pick that's in the draft, those guys are going to be coveted. And who takes them? I don't think Kansas City is going to have an opportunity, either one of those offensive linemen. I think they're going to be gone by the time Kansas City drafts. So Kansas City is going to have to look elsewhere for their offensive line help. But they are in desperate need of offensive line structuring to protect Patrick Mahomes. And I think that's going to be a big weakness going forward for the Kansas City Chiefs. And if they want to have a chance at competing for the Super Bowl anytime in the near future, they're going to have to address that offensive line for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Going back to that Super Bowl, I think it was a combination of both. Todd Bowles and the Bucs defense had a great game plan going into that game. They had 2 weeks to prepare, and then the Chiefs not having their offensive line definitely hurt. I mean, the Chiefs they played the Bucs earlier that they beat them, and they were dominating that whole game pretty much. You saw what Tyreek Hill was doing in that first quarter, backflips in the end zone, and they pretty dominated that game. Tampa Bay came back and made it close. It was 27-24 was the final. But they had already beaten that Buccaneers team earlier in the year. And, throughout the year, the Buccaneers defense, they had a pretty good defense. But at times that defense kind of looked, average. There were times during the season where they weren't that good, and they really turned it on come playoff time. And the further they got, they got momentum. The turning point for that Buccaneers team was after that bye week, because they were the only team to have a bye week. I think it was week 12. That bye week really helped them out moving forward. After that bye week, they were really able to get things under control and really look like the best team in the NFL after that bye week. So having that bye week, late in the year, definitely helped that team out moving forward.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you right now, I do not root for this Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, great job getting a Super Bowl, but all I care about is my Cowboys, and I don't see us doing anything this year. So I hate watching teams that I hate. What this year, Kansas City played Tampa Bay. So I'm thinking okay, who am I going to go for? I'm going to go for Tampa Bay. But I'm not even a Tampa Bay fan. I'm not a Kansas City fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. And I just wish that my team could just get us into the playoffs so I have to stop rooting for other teams.
I hear you, man. I felt the same way
I
for years. I'm a dog.
thing is, Robert.
Yep. You know, I feel the same way. Dolphins fan. We've had it just as bad, if not worse, than the Cowboys. At least you guys have won Super Bowls longer than we have, or shorter than we have, going back to the 90s. I mean, the last time the Dolphins won a Super Bowl was, what was it, the undefeated season or the year after, 1972, 73? So I know Dolphins fans out there, Dolphins Nation has been begging and waiting for the next big, franchise quarterback, and everybody's hoping that, Tua's the guy. But if Tua's not the guy, then what do we do? Do we go after Deshaun Watson? Do we get Russell Wilson? Like, what do we do? Like, we're putting everything in Tua, hoping, he's the guy and he can get us to the playoffs. And, we have a new offensive coordinator now. And,
oh, absolutely.
We should be the second best team in this division behind, Buffalo. Everybody's high on Buffalo. And you can't count on New England. I mean, Cam Newton just got signed to a 1-year deal. And, I think a lot of reason why Cam played so bad last year was he was dealing with COVID and having guys that opted out, like, Julian Edelman dealing with the injuries. So I expect Cam, to have a little bit better season this year and be more comfortable with that offense with the Patriots, because you can never count the Patriots out. As bad as the Patriots were last year, it's like 7-9, 9-7. I mean, they weren't that bad.
It was 7-9. It damn sure wasn't 9-7, Robert.
Yeah,
it
7-9.
It was like 7-9.
Yeah, but as bad. I'm just saying, as bad as they weren't as bad as people thought they would be. That they weren't 3.
No, they, like I said, 7-9 is better than the whole NFC East division.
Yeah, so Bill Belichick's still a great coach. They do a great job with the defense. And one thing about Belichick is he always schemes well for certain quarterbacks. Like he's given Josh Allen fits since Josh Allen's been in the division going up against the Patriots. Like he gives rookie quarterbacks fits. Like in the Patriots offense has never been this high octane superpower offense. They play good defense. Like their offense just has to be good enough to win them games, and then they have a good defense and they're able to beat you in different ways. So they've never had this high octane power offense. I mean, going back as far as I can remember, the only year the Patriots really high octane power offense was the year they went undefeated with when they had Randy Moss in 2000 with Wes Welker, when they undefeated, when they had that high octane offense that year that Brady
absolutely
50 touchdowns. That they've never had like this high octane power offense with weapons and stuff like that. They've always been able to win with what they have and pay guys the minimum and move off guys and bring in new guys and still win. So that's pretty much the Patriot way. And what's his name? Frankie would know all of the,
Oh yeah, Frankie Cruz would probably tell us every inch about the New England Patriots. Now here's the deal.
Yeah.
And before we get fully into this Cam Newton conversation, which I know is the next topic,
yeah, that's the next thing.
I want to go back to the Kansas City just for a second. It was Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. Those are the two offensive tackles that Kansas City had let go. So I just want to kind of finish that conversation out so everybody knew who the offensive tackles were. Let's move into this Cam Newton. And Mel, I know it's kind of like our next topic, so I guess we've already kind of transitioned into that direction, right?
Yeah, going right into Cam Newton. That's what I was bringing up next.
Yes, ma'am. So we're going to get into Cam Newton real quick. $14 million 1 year. I think that number one, I think they overpaid for Cam Newton. And it was just another reason why I think Bill Belichick needs to rethink his GM strategy and maybe bring in a GM and let him just be the coach. But they gave him 1 year at $14 million. I think they could have got Cam Newton at 1 year, $5 million, because he's on his way out of the league. This is probably going to be his last big payday before he either A, takes a vet minimum, or B, just retires and leaves the game of football altogether. But the milk has been spilt. The $14 million has been given. Now they got basically Cam Newton as the veteran quarterback on this team, because obviously in Stidham they do not trust one bit. So obviously we'll get into this in a minute, because that's actually one of our main topics. But now they're going to have to look to build it in the draft and looking for their quarterback for the future in the draft, and hopefully put him behind Cam Newton, let him get a little bit of seasoning, and then bring him in and let Cam Newton go. Robert, what do you think about this signing? I think it's horrible at the price point that they paid for him. I think it's horrible. I think bringing Cam Newton back is okay, because they need a veteran quarterback that knows Bill Belichick's system. My only problem with the contract is the amount of money they gave him. I think they way overpaid, and they probably could have got better for the cap numbers, paying him around the $5 million range. What do you think?
Yeah, $14 million is kind of expensive for Cam, especially the year he came off of. And I honestly thought the Patriots were going to try to get Jimmy Garoppolo back because Jimmy Garoppolo was a guy that Belichick liked, and obviously he didn't want to trade him. The only reason he traded him was he didn't want him there, and Robert Kraft, so they traded him to San Francisco. And the 49ers are, I think they like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he can be their quarterback. I don't know if they trust him. I mean, he's been hurt a couple of times with San Francisco. I think San Francisco was looking at maybe possibly getting Deshaun Watson because they do like Deshaun Watson. He's able to stay healthy. I think he fits their system well. But I guess not. I mean, we're going to see. I mean, I think they did overpay for Cam. Should have probably kept it in maybe the $5 to $8 range. $14 million 1 year for Cam coming off the year he had. I mean, it's kind of just like desperate. It's like bounce back and won't be affected by COVID, and hopefully the team's healthy. I don't trust Cam moving forward. I think this is his last year, and then he's done. You should have tried to go after somebody better. I mean, hopefully we'll see who they can get in the draft. I'm not sure who they're going to get. I mean, it would have been nice to see Jimmy Garoppolo back there. I think he fits that just really well, and then maybe you could have kept Cam as the backup. But the thing with Cam is Cam doesn't want to be in. If Cam has to be a backup, I think Cam will just retire and walk out of the league and go do fashion or something. Cam doesn't want to be a backup. He still thinks he can start, but I think definitely last year the COVID definitely affected him. I don't know if he wants to admit that or not, but the COVID thing that he had affected him. He didn't look like the same quarterback after COVID. They were in a lot of games last year. I mean, they beat the Chargers 45-0. That was pretty impressive going into LA to beat the Chargers 45-0. They came close beating the Bills in Buffalo. I think on the last play of the game, Cam had fumbled and they lost that game. So the Patriots were in a lot of games last year, but I just don't trust Cam Newton. I just don't think he's that guy that's going to get you over the hump. I think his time.
Absolutely.
I think his time has come and passed. Ever since Super Bowl 50, after that Super Bowl, he just hasn't. Where he had that MVP season, he just hasn't been the same quarterback. And this is his last leg. This is his last year to really prove himself, and we'll see him do it. If not, he'll be out of the NFL after this year for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. Absolutely. I'm not a Cam Newton fan. I haven't been a Cam Newton fan since the day he left the Super Bowl and he didn't win the Super Bowl. Since then, I don't know. I've just never been totally sold on Cam Newton. I always thought Michael Vick was the better quarterback between the two of them, but that's just me. Melanie, do we have any more side topics before we get into our main show?
Oh, well, you got one, but I was kind of wanting to ask a question, you guys, to see what you think.
Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead. No.
So we brought up the COVID thing with Cam Newton. So I've been trying to research a little bit, but I'm not finding much information on it. So with everybody getting the vaccines now, how is that implementing the NFL players? Are they able to get the vaccines? Because I know they serve people over 65, people with lower immune systems. How is that relating to our NFL players? And is that going to play a part in the upcoming season? What do you guys think?
That's a good question. I watched Joe Biden's speech the other night. He was saying he wants to have all Americans try to get vaccinated by May 1st. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's going to happen. Hopefully it will happen. I don't know how it's going to work in sports. He didn't really say anything with sports. I'm sure he's discussing that with all the owners of the NBA, the commissioners of the NBA, NFL. But yeah, I would think these guys would definitely get vaccinated. Before starts in the off season. I mean, it makes sense. So I mean, I can't see why not. I mean, because Biden, he wants to try to get the country back up and running, hopefully by the 4th of July. So celebrations could go on as normal, and we can have gatherings again. So he was saying all adults should be vaccinated, hopefully by May 1st, if not a little bit later. So I'm pretty sure I can't see why not. NBA players, NFL players, baseball players, any other athletes wouldn't be vaccinated by that. I mean,
Yeah.
And obviously,
I'm sorry.
No, obviously, hopefully we get some more fans, back in the arenas. Hopefully, middle of the year, later in the year, because we definitely need fans back in the arenas. Maybe not at full capacity, but definitely more fans in the stands for sure.
Yeah, I've seen the articles where they've opened up a lot of the NFL stadiums that, are kind of dormant right now because the season's over, to do the drive-through vaccination. So they have a good place to, rotate the people in and out. So I've seen that the NFL is cooperating like that. I've been trying to find something about the players, and I haven't been able to find anything about it. But that's good. I've heard that also he wants to have the first and second vaccinations initiated with everyone by July. So
Yeah, with that whole COVID thing. I mean, obviously you saw Texas is going to be allowing full capacity at their stadiums and ventures.
Ranger Stadium,
like
yeah.
I think the whole COVID thing is going to depend on what state you're in terms of how it affects you. Obviously, in Texas, the numbers are low enough. The vaccinations have been given enough that it probably won't be a big deal. But if you go to, like, let's say Georgia, like where we live, or, any other heavily infected area, there's obviously going to be more stringent measures in terms of what they can and cannot do. Here's my boy, Big Shaw, taking out the sleep out of his eyes. What's up, baby?
What's up?
Good to have you on here. Melanie, let's get that last topic before we get into our main topics.
Do you want to talk about Juju?
Yeah, let's talk about Juju Smith-Schuster going to, or possibly
Right.
the Cardinals. And there goes.
And that's why we are unscripted.
Yeah.
I think Shaw's baby got away from him, and he wasn't prepared for that. So
That's me, baby. Oh,
Sounded like
Big
a hurricane.
Rob, what do you think about Juju Smith-Schuster? Where do you think he's going? I know he's been linked to Arizona. Where do you think he's going to wind up landing? Do you think he's going to be back with the Steelers or what?
He's definitely not going to be back with the Steelers. He hasn't played well the last couple of years. I mean,
No.
Juju Smith-Schuster was really at his prime when Antonio Brown was there. Once Antonio Brown left, he just wasn't that guy anymore. It seemed like he kind of got more involved in TikTok and was more interested in dancing on opposing teams' logos rather than playing football. So, me personally, he's a California guy. He's an LA guy. I'd like to see him maybe go to like the Chargers or some team in California. I don't know about the Rams. I mean, because the Rams are already good at wide receiver. They got Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, so he wouldn't. But maybe the Chargers. The Chargers got Keenan Allen. I don't know if Mike Williams is going to come back next year. Maybe if Mike Williams isn't back, maybe you can add Juju Smith-Schuster to be the number 2 behind Keenan Allen. I'd like to see Juju go back to LA. He's an LA guy. He's a USC guy. I think with the Chargers, depending on what they do with Mike Williams. But Keenan Allen, Juju Smith-Schuster, that was a nice little 1-2 wide receiver combo right there. So I like to see Juju go to the Chargers, go back to LA, be a California.
Yeah, I like that, Robert. I like the fact that Juju linked up with the Chargers. I think would be the best spot for him because let's be honest, you got an aging Keenan Allen. He's not getting any younger, and he's always been kind of injury prone. So you got an aging Keenan Allen, like you said, and you don't really have a clear number 2 or a guy that can run the underneath routes. So Juju Smith-Schuster to the Chargers, being that he's a California guy, does make some sense. I would not be surprised, however, if he pulls a J.J. Watt and goes completely left and goes to the Cardinals opposite of DeAndre Hopkins and Fitzgerald and play with Kyler Murray and give Kyler Murray another underneath threat. So I would not be surprised at that one bit. It's going to be interesting, I think, where Juju Smith-Schuster lands. Shaw, what do you think about Juju? Where do you think there's going to be a good spot for him to land?
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Juju Smith-Schuster, so I don't really care where he go. I'm not a big fan of him. I ain't gonna lie. I don't really too much care for him.
One team I'd like to see him go to, but I don't know if they're going to take a shot on him. Is maybe the Miami Dolphins, but I know the Dolphins.
Let him go to Detroit.
One guy I'd like to see.
Careers die, baby. Where careers die.
Let him go to Detroit.
Detroit.
Hey, let me ask you guys a question. I got a question, and then Melanie, we got to get to these main topics. We're going to spend too much time, but I got a main question. I want to get Big Shot Rob's opinion, and I want to get Shaw's opinion. How dumb do you think it is that the Texans are spending more money on Mark Ingram after they just traded their best wide receiver asset to the Cardinals for David Johnson, and now we're bringing in another running back, but we still have not addressed our receiving core? Do you see this as a good thing or a bad thing? Big Shot, you started off. Shaw, you finish it.
It's definitely a bad thing. I just don't think the Texans they don't know what they're doing. Mark Ingram's coming off a horrible year with the Ravens. Nothing last year. He was behind J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. The year before, he was great with the Ravens. I don't trust Mark Ingram one bit moving forward. David Johnson's another guy I don't trust. I honestly think the Texans don't know what they're doing. The coach said as of now, Deshaun Watson's still our starter, but Deshaun's holding out. He's not going to want to play there. He wants out. They have virtually no weapons. I mean, they're going to get rid of Will Fuller. They cut Kenny Stills. The only wide receiver they have really under contract is Brandon Cooks. So you traded DeAndre Hopkins 2 years ago, your best wide receiver, who was probably very good friends with Deshaun Watson. They're both Clemson guys, so of course they got along. But my prayers and hopes go to the Texans next year. I mean, Houston, they got a lot of problems. They got a lot of problems to solve.
I totally agree with you, Robert. I totally agree with that assessment, and I hate to say it because I'm an H-Town guy, but damn, that assessment is pretty much spot on. Shaw, what you got, brother?
Well, I ain't gonna be on it too long because it's we talked about it before. Mark Ingram, I don't think he got nothing left in the tank anymore, if you ask me. So I think the Houston Texans, I think they're being very stupid. It's just crazy what they got going on in Houston. It's just stupid. I don't like Houston no more. They just stupid.
Me neither.
They stupid. I just don't want to harp on it because we got a lot of topics. So I was like, well, I don't have too much to say on that one. But no,
that's fine. That's fine. I agree with you totally. Hey, Melanie, let's get into our main topics. What do we got first up on the shoe?
All right. High school announcer caught calling girls basketball team racial slurs as players took a knee.
All right, guys. Hey, before we get into who goes what first, and Melanie, you'll designate that, but we're going to do 1 minute on each one of these topics just to keep our time in check. So let's go, baby.
Okay, I don't have that little countdown thing over here, so I'll just go.
You have a mental calendar. Who you got first, Melanie, on this topic?
Let's go with you, Jay, because I know you've researched this one.
Hey, listen, there's no way you don't know you're going out live. You gonna tell me that you sit there and haphazardly just don't know that you're going out live? Number one, that's number one. Not the main one, but that's number one. Number two, why are you gonna sit up there and say some crap that you know is racial as all hell, and you're in a booth? Number one. Number two, why would you do it in general anyway? It's crazy. How many times have we seen this? This isn't the first time this has happened. We've had other commentators get in trouble for this same stuff. Guys, you're being held to a position where you're supposed to be saying the right things and being politically correct and doing the right thing by all of us. And you're sitting there putting up this propaganda that we got to sit here and listen to? Why? It's ridiculous. It's stupid. And I'd say throw this guy into the heater, fire him, get rid of him, and let's bring somebody else in. That's my 2 cents. Whoever else, let's go.
Yeah, they've already got rid of the company, the contracted company that was doing that. They said that he works for. They're not using them anymore, is what that school said. All right. What do you think, Shaw?
Man, that's just crazy, man. It go to show you, like I tell people, like when I first heard the story, racism is still alive. They just try to hide it, but he didn't hide it. He didn't hide his. When you have a public event like that, your microphone is always on at all times. And, like I tell people, you got to be careful what you say. But obviously, he didn't care. There's no place in any type of sport for that. I think, whoever people that does that, they should be fired. They should be going through the ringer. They should go through the trash. But I'm sure he has got a slap on the wrist. I was told, don't do it again. He'll have a job Monday morning at somewhere else. That's all. But absolutely. People going to continue to do it, and then what's going to wind up happening is somebody going to bust one of the dudes in the mouth. That's all they need. Bust them dudes in the mouth. They want to open their mouth and say stuff like that. Put it to them. That's just me. That's just me. But if you bold enough to say that, there's no place in sports for that. Them girls, them ladies didn't deserve that. We know what he said. It just don't make no sense. It really don't.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's my first time hearing about this story, but there's definitely no place in sports for any type of racial slurs. It kind of reminds me of what happened with Myers Leonard. I heard about what happened with Myers Leonard while Myers Leonard was playing the video game. He said anti-Semitic slurs, and the Heat fined him $50,000 and banned him from the practice facility for a week. Myers Leonard hasn't really done anything all year for the Heat, so his Heat career is pretty much done and over. I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat trade him and just release him. But there's really no place in sports for this. I mean, we got racism. All over this country, it seems like it's never going to go away. And in sports, it's definitely uncalled for, especially when you're working and you're being paid to be an announcer. Doing a high school girls basketball game, definitely uncalled for. It's uncalled for in any type of work environment, but in sports, definitely.
Yeah. Let me say one real quick thing, Melanie, and we'll go on to topic number 2. I just want to say this. Here's the deal. Right now, we're at a high school game. This is where our youth are impacted. And if we want to change racism, Robert, if we want to get rid of racism, Shaw, we have to impact it at the high school, elementary, junior high, at their primitive levels of where people are being developed in their mental and in their routines and everything else. This is when we impact our young people. And if we can impact the young people enough, then we can truly end racism, because we got to break the cycle some kind of way. And what this guy did over the air is not helping break the cycle. He's actually infuriating the cycle. So, it's a sad thing that he did this at a youth game, because this is the time when we should be bringing out the most change to actually, like you said, Robert, I think racism can be ended if you get it early enough in their youth to start a new process. But if you're putting out racist crap at the process of youth, then how do you end the cycle, and how does it ever stop?
I'm going to tell you how it's going to stop. It's never going to stop.
No, it's never going to stop. But one of the things that bothered me is he's talking through the national anthem. Like, he should be at least paying some kind of respect to that. Like, he's talking, like, he's saying these things while the national anthem is playing, regardless of if these girls are taking a knee, to make a stand against racism or whatever. He's talking over top of the national anthem. And he did make an apology and say that he's diabetic and that his sugar was low and he didn't realize what he was saying. But it was just ridiculous. The whole thing was just ridiculous, and it should have never happened. And these kids are very impressionable. And we have to take that into account when we are dealing with our kids on any level.
Yep. All right, Miss Mel. Let's roll on to
all right.
One more thing I wanted to say. I just wanted to say with the racism, it has to be taught like an education reform. Like, it has to be taught, obviously, going back to grade school. But sometimes, like, when you talk to somebody and say, like, oh, they're not a racist, like, you can be a racist, that's fine. But I mean, if you're in the workplace, I mean, just keep it to yourself. Don't let everybody know about it. Like, if you're gonna be a racist, you might say, like, oh yeah, I'm not a racist, and then inside, I mean, you don't know what that person's thinking inside their head. But I mean, when you're working in an environment, like, if you're racist, I mean, that's fine. Just keep it to yourself. You don't need to let anybody know about it. I mean, keep it to yourself. That's all.
Amen.
All right, next topic.
Topic number 2.
Here we go. The Patriots scouting Trey Lance at his pro day. Let's see, Shaw, you want to take that one first?
Yeah. The only problem I got with Trey Lance is he only played that one season. That's the only problem I got with him. But besides that, they got a lot of scouts out there watching this young man play. And for what I hear and for what I've been looking at and researching, the Patriots was the main team talking to him and and looking at him. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that, because I'm so high on Mac Jones going to New England. But like I said, what I was told and seeing, man, New England, was really looking at this man kind of hard. But that's the only problem I got is just that 1 year. So I mean, he had the stats. I don't think he had no interceptions. In his college game. So I was like, man, that's impressive. So he did good, and the Patriots was the only team there. Atlanta was there, the Jets was there. I think the Giants was, a lot of people was there at his pro day, and it went pretty good. So maybe the Patriots may get him. I don't know, because old Cam Newton, I don't think he got much time left. I think he's going to be a mentor, whoever comes to New England, though.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, what do you got on that one?
Yeah, Trey Lance, like Shaw pointed out, he only played 1 year. But he is a big guy at 6'4", 227. He did get the Walter Payton and the Jerry Rice Award, so he's got some accomplishments to his name, no doubt about it. But my question, like I think Shaw's question is, you've only seen one season. How can you judge anybody or see if anybody is what they are based on one season? I don't think that's enough. He had one good game, at his pro day. He did good on his pro day, but towards the end of the 2020 season, they arranged another game for him to showcase his abilities, and he didn't show out. Matter of fact, he showed little. He had a very bad game towards the end of the season. Now, with that being said, he did complete 66% of his passes. So I think with Trey Lance, he's very much an unknown, and I don't know. He could be a Ryan Leaf, or he could be a Peyton Manning. He could be watch this. He could be a Ryan Leaf, or he could be a Peyton Manning. He could be a Jamarcus Russell, or he could be a Tom Brady. We don't know. We just don't know enough. So I think if the Patriots want to gamble their spot on Trey Lance, then they're going to have to suffer the consequences if he doesn't pan out, because he's had one good game that he impressed at, but he's also had a bad game that he did not impress at. So we have to be careful about what we put with Trey Lance in terms of can he or can he not do it. So I would put Trey Lance in the second round. I don't think he's a first-round guy. I think he's a second-round quarterback guy. But, hey, they'll do their due diligence, I hope, and choose the right guy. But I think Trey Lance is too much of a gamble to take in the first round.
All right, Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, Trey Lance, this guy, he only played 1 year. I believe he went to the same school that Carson Wentz. I don't know too much about this guy. I know some other teams are scouting him as well. I know the Seahawks were scouting him, and that made Russell Wilson mad. So that's possible that maybe Seattle's interested in getting this guy as well. I mean, but if the Patriots want this guy, they're gonna have to definitely. It wouldn't be a bad thing maybe to get him and have him behind Cam for 1 year, let him learn, and then he'll be ready to play after that. But yeah, you really never know. Sometimes in quarterbacks, I mean, if he only played 1 year in college and had a good year, not to say that he can't be good in the NFL, but maybe sitting behind him 1 year would benefit him, and he'll be ready to go after that. But I mean, there's other teams that want this guy. The Seahawks scouted him. This guy's getting scouted heavily. I've been hearing a lot about this guy recently. So I just hope he lives up to the hype. We'll see.
Yeah. One more note about Trey Lance. I wouldn't put him in the Ryan Leaf category, because Ryan Leaf was thrown off, and I don't think Trey Lance looked thrown off. I think he's gonna be all right though. See, it's people like Trey Lance making it in NFL.
That's I would say right now, Ryan Leaf in college looked great, but in the pro day or in the NFL, he was horrible.
Jay, Ryan Leaf being thrown off.
You never know.
But Ryan Leaf was thrown off in college, though, Jay. He was tripping in college.
That he was. I'll give you that.
He was crazy.
All right, guys. Next up, will the Chicago Bears make a blockbuster trade for Watson or Russell?
Do it.
All right, Shaw, go on.
Do it, Chicago. Bust it wide open and go ahead and do it. But Chicago, I think they put Khalil Mack, his contract, and Eddie Jackson contract. There's another guy. They make they contract into bonuses. So Chicago planning to do something. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's going to be good. But I think it's going to be, they're going to get one of them guys. I'm telling you, Chicago got to pin up their sleeve. They're going to get somebody. They're going to bust. They're going to do something. Mark my words. Chicago not playing. Chicago got to pin up their sleeve. But I think the plan is to get Deshaun Watson, because he really want to get out of Houston. He don't want to be in Houston at all. Russell Wilson, I can see him staying in Seattle, but they're going to probably get rid of Russell Wilson next year. But I can see Deshaun Watson in Chicago. But Chicago got to be willing to drop their nuts and drop their balls. Who would you give away for Deshaun Watson? Who would you give away? You got to give somebody up. You can't keep Eddie Jackson. You got to get rid of somebody. You got to do it. If you want Deshaun Watson, he's a good quarterback. He's a top 5 quarterback. Yes, I said he's a top 5 quarterback. He's better than Dak Prescott. So you got to drop your nuts.
Absolutely.
Drop your nuts, Chicago, and get Deshaun Watson.
All right, Jay, you want to pick that one up?
Yeah, Chicago could go a number of ways. They can take a big salary cap hit and go for Deshaun Watson and pay him a crap ton of money. They could go for Russell Wilson and get the experience, maybe a little bit lesser cost. Or they could go a third route. And they could bring in Alex Smith at the veteran league's minimum. I know, Shaw, you're looking at him crazy. But Alex Smith has proven that he can win at the pro level. And they could probably get him at a very, 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 very cap-friendly price. And I think Alex Smith could do great things in Chicago like he was doing in Washington. Yes, there is a risk with Alex Smith, absolutely, with his leg. You don't know if that injury could resurface. But at the same time, you're giving him a cap-friendly contract. So even if it doesn't pan out, you don't really lose a whole lot. Matter of fact, you give him an incentive-laden contract. You give him an incentive-laden contract that he can earn and be and flourish. And I tell you right now, Alex Smith can bring back that offense like he did with Washington Redskins.
Jay, Chicago trying to do a blockbuster. They're not trying to take a seat back. They want a blockbuster. They're gonna do something.
I really don't think they do. I don't think they're looking for a blockbuster.
Alex Smith's name.
Chicago's never been a blockbuster type team. Shaw. The Chicago has never been a blockbuster type team.
Have you been seeing what Chicago did with the salary cap?
Give Robert his opportunity. Hey, Rob, what do you think about this?
I think the Bears need to do it. The Bears, if you look at the Bears' history, they haven't had a franchise quarterback going back in the day to Sid Luckman, who's a guy I really know nothing about. That 85 Bears team had Jim McMahon, but they also had that great defense that helped win them the Super Bowl that year against the Patriots. So if I'm the Bears, I think you got to go all in for either of these guys. I mean, I don't trust Mitch Trubisky moving forward. I wouldn't want to draft a quarterback. Like, if you want to be able to compete in that division with Aaron Rodgers and you got Kirk Cousins in that division and Jared Goff, you're going to need a quarterback. And obviously Deshaun Watson would make the most sense because he's heard it to with Russell Wilson, and Houston would be able to trade him out of the conference to the NFC. I think Seattle would be a little bit more hesitant to trade Russell Wilson to Chicago, knowing that Chicago's in the NFC and they could, in the playoffs possibly. That's a possibility. So if I'm the Bears, I go all in to try to get Deshaun Watson, and if you can't get Deshaun Watson, then try to get Russell Wilson. But you're going to need a franchise quarterback if you want to compete, and the Bears already have a good defense. Yeah. And if you want to compete and have a chance to win the NFC North and compete with Aaron Rodgers, who seems to be winning this division every year in the Green Packers, you're going to need a franchise quarterback. I mean, for God's sakes, you haven't had a franchise quarterback since Sid Luckman, and he's not coming out anytime soon, and Jay McMahon's not coming back out of retirement. So it's like
Jay Cutler not coming back either.
Yeah, you have to get one of these guys. The Chicago Bears need a franchise quarterback. Chicago is a great city. It's one of the more largest cities in America. They have great fans. I remember when I used to work security for the Miami Dolphins. We had the Chicago Bears come down there that year and play the Dolphins, and the Bears were really good about 2 years ago. You should have seen how many Bears fans were down there, man. It was like 80 to 20 Bears fans to Dolphins fans. So that they have great fans that travel. They're diehard fans, the monsters of the Midway. I mean, if I'm the Bears, I go all in to get either of these guys.
Yeah, because they're doing them salaries for a reason, Jay. They need a franchise.
Here's the deal, right? Here's the deal. Why would Russell Wilson? I can see why Watson possibly might go to the Bears. I can see that. But why would Russell Wilson give up what he has in Seattle for what he's going to be inheriting with Chicago? Chicago's not the best of teams in terms of better what he's leaving. It has to be a team. No, for Russell Wilson to leave, for Russell Wilson to request that trade, it's got to be a team that could be better than what he's leaving. And I don't think that even as much as Chicago may want Russell Wilson, if that's the case, I don't think that Russell Wilson necessarily wants Chicago.
Jay, the man said he want to go to Chicago, Dallas, and New Orleans. He's not going to Dallas now. The man said Chicago. Chicago has the defense, Jay.
They do. That's true.
Another thing you got to remember, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's married to Ciara, and Ciara's a singer. So I could see Russell going to like a trendy city, like like a Miami or like an Atlanta. Like he'd have to be like in a trendy city. Not to say that he couldn't go to Chicago. I personally think he's gonna stay in Seattle. They're gonna find a way to make it work and get him an offense.
Got to
and make it work. But if he were to go somewhere else, I would think the Seahawks would be smart enough to trade him out of the conference, and they wouldn't want to trade him to Chicago. They would trade him to an AFC team, possibly the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas would be a good spot.
Yeah, he said the Raiders too.
Yeah, the Raiders would be a good spot. Miami, obviously, because he's married to Ciara. Ciara, I mean, she's not what she used to be as far as singing, but she still is a star nonetheless. Yeah. So Vegas or possibly going to Miami could possibly resurrect her career and help her out. So you gotta think about that too, because when J.J. Watt considered Arizona, like he consulted with his wife about that.
Joe did.
His wife helped him made that decision. So thinking about their own self, they're thinking about what's best for their family as well. Yeah, for their family as well. Yeah.
All right, guys. Next topic. The CFL and the XFL could merge together. What do we think about that? Rob, what do you think?
I think that would be great. I think the Rock is involved with this. I think it would have another football league together to compete with the NFL. Whether or not it's gonna be better than NFL, I don't think it will. But it would have something to compete with the NFL. I mean, we had a couple football leagues recently that were doing like their thing. What were the football leagues we had? I forgot the leagues, but they failed. They just didn't do well. So I mean,
they failed.
It failed. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I hope it happens. That's something else to watch, but it'll never be as popular as the NFL or get the ratings like the NFL. But it'll just be something to watch in addition. Like guys possibly that don't make it in the NFL or guys that are in college that don't get in the draft or anything like that. It gives them another option to be able to play in another league where they can make a decent living. So I think it's a good idea if both of them merge together. Definitely.
All right, Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I don't think the XFL can sustain itself on its own. I think it needs some of the CFL to help the sustainability of it. But I do believe that what the XFL brings to the CFL could be very dynamic. And I don't think they're never going to overcome the NFL. The NFL is always going to be top dog. We all know that. Nobody's going to take out the NFL. But the XFL, CFL combination could provide, like what Robert was saying, could provide that talent that the NFL can draw off of in free agency. If somebody can't compete in the NFL, but they go to that particular merged league and then does something great, well, then they could come. It gives them an opportunity. It's almost like a G League, like for the NBA. It's almost like their G League. So, hey, go to the developmental league in the CFL, XFL, garner up your skills a little bit better, and then possibly, come back to the NFL, and then we'll see what we do with you. So I do see that there is a value, there is a need for it, and I do think it's a good thing. Absolutely.
All right, Big Sean, what do you think?
I love it, and the Rock is behind the XFL. I'm excited. It's just gonna be something different to see, just in case you get bored in the NFL. But I'm just interested to see how the rules are gonna be. So. But I'm excited for it, and I hope it does well, and I will be watching. So that's it. I'm excited.
All right, guys, we about ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, but do we have any more topics? Or are we done?
We can keep going, y'all.
Y'all want to keep going? We got one more. All right.
Let's wrap it up. Let's go.
We ain't got nothing to do.
All right, best stadium in the Pac-12 football. Big Shaw, what you got?
Now, before I give my answer, I want to apologize in advance. I do have a lot of friends and fans in Los Angeles. USC, I thought about it so much. I thought about it all night long. I said, you know what? I've been there. I've been to the stadium before. And then somebody said, hey, man, you should go to Oregon and check out Oregon Stadium. I fell in love with the Oregon Ducks Stadium. So Oregon Ducks has the best stadium in the Pac-12. I don't care what nobody says. If you've never been to a game, especially at night, you should go. It's very nice. They got nice uniforms too. The fans was nice when I told them where I was from. They said, "Oh, you from the SEC?" Man, they talk so much about the SEC. But I gotta go with Oregon, man. If you've never been to the stadium or a game, You need to go. I'm sorry, USC. Please forgive me.
All right, Rob, what do you think?
I agree with you, man. I think the Rose Bowl and the Coliseum, where UCLA and USC play, are two historic stadiums. But man, that Oregon Stadium, man, like it's almost like going to the Seahawks Stadium, CenturyLink Field. I mean, that place gets loud.
Ooh.
I've watched games there. That jump, it looks crazy. So I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. The Coliseum and the Rose Bowl are two historic stadiums. I think where the Utah Utes play is also pretty loud.
Yeah.
It's not as loud as Eugene. Eugene, Oregon, where the Ducks play, is a very loud stadium. And I agree with you on the Ducks uniforms. They have the forms and Oregon is I would say it's the loudest and toughest stadium to play in all the Pac-12 and probably the best stadium in the Pac-12. And in addition to that, I would probably say the Seahawks stadium is also probably the best stadium in the NFL. I would go with that as well, probably. At full capacity, the 12th man. There's nothing like the 12th man in Seattle. I would go with that. Yep.
I like that.
All right, Jay, what do you think?
Hey, before I give my prediction, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you to Robert Street, Big Shot Rob, we call him, for coming on tonight, because we had a fill-in for Logan Landers, who's out of town right now. And thank you, Rob, for coming in and filling in for us. As always, you give good insight. You're very knowledgeable, and we truly appreciate having you come on.
Good to have me on, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it too.
Yes, sir. And then now I'm gonna go a little different route. I know you guys got Oregon, and Oregon is a nice stadium. Look, it's hard for me to say that because I know for a fact that Shaw's been to Oregon. I've never been to the Oregon Stadium, so it's hard for me to say what I gotta say. But just from what I've seen on TV, and just what I've researched, and just what I've read about it, I gotta go with the Husky Stadium in Washington. It overlooks the lake. He overlooks the Lake Washington Lake Washington. So it overlooks Lake Washington at 133.6 decibels. It's one of the loudest stadiums, and it's very scenic. And so I guess I'm going with Washington Huskies on this, but I can see why y'all would go with Oregon, because Oregon, like I said, is a very nice stadium as well. And it's a very hard competition to choose from. But just from what I've researched and what I've seen on pictures, the Washington Huskies looks really nice, and Oregon looks really nice. So it's really a horse apiece at that point. Yeah. So it's just a matter of where. And I see where Big Sean likes what he likes, but I'm going with Washington Huskies on that one.
Rob, you never been to Oregon. We need to take them to the Oregon game.
Hey, I'm down. Anytime you're ready to go, I am retired and I am willing to travel, and we will pick up on the way.
You get
yes, please take him all the way to Oregon.
Hey. We both picked the Northwest. We both went with the Northwest, so that's always a good thing. Northwest definitely has a loud stadium, so we all went with the Northwest over historic Rose Bowl, historic Coliseum, and some of the other Pac-12 stadiums. But yeah, the Northwest, they definitely got loud stadiums up there.
Yeah, we gotta take you. We gotta take you tonight, Jay. The full capacity. You gonna change your mind.
Hey, I get you, man. Like I said, eventually, I think maybe me and you can link up and go to see some of these college games. I really want to go see some college games this year. I don't know how coronavirus is going to affect all that, but man, I really want to go see some college football games this year.
Yeah, you live in Georgia.
I do live in Georgia.
All right, Jay, why don't you tell us about our jersey giveaway?
Hey, listen, guys, for the month of March, as everybody kind of knows, for the whole month of March, if you like, comment, and share. Mostly comment and share. Comment and sharing is what we're really looking for. If you comment and share on the program, we tally it all up. And at the end of the month, whoever has the most tick marks is going to get the jersey. And this ain't no bullshit jersey. Listen, man, I could give you a $10 T-shirt, a $20 T-shirt. I could give you a crappy little whatever, academy jersey, whatever. But that's not what I'm about. I'm about quality, and I'm about everything else in between. So I'm going with a very production line company that gives us official jerseys. Everything is stitched. Nothing is printed. And I think you're going to be very, very excited with the product that you get. And it's your team. It's your sport. The only thing I can't guarantee you is a name, because they kind of get – it's only limited selections on names. But team name, sport, I got you. And it'll be a very nice jersey, and you'll be very proud to wear it. And our show is very, very is very committed to giving you the absolute best, because we want the best from you. And so that's our gift for whoever comments and shares the most.
All right, guys, we want to say a special thank you for Rob Strite that has come on our show tonight to help us out since Logan's not here. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's always great to have you here.
Yes.
And we want to just make sure you know our shows are on Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 9 Eastern and Saturdays, usually at noon Eastern, but Saturdays are kind of busy. So here we were starting at 9 o'clock tonight. You can also find us on YouTube. Look us up under Unscripted under any of the guys' names. Jay McLovin, Big Shaw, or Logan Landers. You can find the Unscripted plus anything else that these guys are up to. You can find us on iHeart, iTunes, and that's about it. We want to thank all of our viewers for commenting and sharing our show. And we are brought to you by BS3 Radio with Spreaker and Northeast Streaming Sports. You guys have a great night and a great weekend.
And the SEC is the best college football division in all of college football.
All right.
How you like that?
Prime time. Good night.
You're listening
I like that. I like that a lot.
On Northeast Streaming Sports.